Hello world, I am Curtis Simpson, and this is Jective's Affinity Review. Today is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, and last week on Thursday, Canva released Affinity's 3.2 update. I was planning to do like a full update video as I've done in the past, but a lot of people beat me to the punch. A lot of people did reviews of it, and I thought, is it even worth doing a review? So I watched theirs, and there is one thing consistently that no one talks about, and that is the ability to customize color fonts. They mention color fonts as if it's this new thing that Affinity can just now start doing. But I'll show you this was something you could do back in version 2 of Affinity, and you've been able to do in Affinity 3.0 and beyond. But the thing we've never been able to do that no desktop software, as far as I'm aware of, somebody correct me, I will issue a correction here, but not even Adobe can edit color fonts in the apps. So let me pull it up. I'll show you what's going on, what I'm talking about here, because maybe you don't know what color fonts are. You're wondering if this video is worth watching. This right here probably looks familiar. This is the thumbnail. These layers in here are active. I did not add gradients to every single one of these. I did not color this. There is a little bit of overlay on that one there. But let me pull this up right here. This inside here is, oh my gosh, it crashed. Let's hope that doesn't let's hope that doesn't happen too much today. Let me go ahead and pull this up in Affinity 2.6 while we're waiting. So just to show you, this is 2.6 and these are color fonts. They exist inside of Affinity already. I think I'll put my face down here really little. Let's just take off the face cam. I'll see you guys later if I decide to turn it back on. But this is Affinity 2.65. This is the last version of Affinity that existed before the new 3.0, Affinity by Canva release that was free for everyone. And as you can see, there are color fonts already in here. These are active fonts. You can do whatever you want, and they are in color. You can even change the colors by picking other, let's zoom in a little bit more. You can change the colors up here where you would typically do your styles. So you do bold, italic, stuff like that. Most color fonts have a solid version right here, but these are full fonts. They work. They've worked for a long time. Like I said, this is Affinity 2.6, but some of them didn't work. Some, like Bungee Spice here, don't work in there. Some of them still don't work inside of Affinity. So let's just ignore the thumbnail. I was going to dig into this. I'm not sure why it crashed. I did have some trouble with some crashes and stuff like that. I think that I fixed most of it. But these are all color fonts right here. Let's go ahead and do a side-by-side real quick. I just want to, let's put the old one on the left. I just want to show you that this is not something new. What's new is the ability to customize them. And there's some more support that's in 3 versus 2, but you can see there's a pretty big overlap between these, and I've got different colors on some of them here, but you could probably look at this and see a lot of them already worked in Affinity 2.6. So the thing that I've been seeing is people reporting, hey, you can use color fonts now. You could use color fonts for a long time. Since I've been using Affinity, you can use color fonts. Let's see what's different though. You might notice that, let me make this big again. See Nabla right here, how that's fully black. See Bungee Spice here, how that's fully black. Those don't work. And I'm gonna get into why those don't work here in a little bit, but you can see right here, Bungee Spice, very nice, got a gradient to it. This is from DJR, and I'm gonna look at each one of these individually, but I just wanna give people an idea what this video is gonna be about right now before we dive into all of this. But you can see Nabla right here. We can actually change these very easy with built-in color palettes. This seems like it's the same thing that we were doing before, right? We were up here with 40 degrees and we were up here changing them in the styles. This is different because if you have those styles there, how are you going to do, your bold and stuff like that? Maybe Hamster is a better example. We'll come back to this here in a second. Here's Hamster variable. You've got your styles up here, and these are your weights. It's even got a variable, and those are your weights. This is Hamster. It's from Fontwerk. But if we come over here in the character panel, we can go through all of these different built-in color palettes. So one, this is something brand new, a single font that has all these different color palettes. You're not doing a different font, a font file for every single one of these. This is great already. Love it. What I love even more is this custom feature right here. So I can change these. Let's go ahead and change it to the Jectives green and the Jectives dark green. There you go. Previously, you would have to use a tool like DJR's color font customizer. Let me open this up here real quick. I do have everything linked in the description. So if you go to the description, everything is linked in there. And this website is loading a little slow, but I'll go ahead and let that load on the other screen, and we'll wait and see what happens. Previously, you'd have to use a tool. Here we go. Previously, you'd have to use a tool like this where you would drop the font in there, and then you could change the colors. So if we were just testing this right here, you can choose those colors. Well, you'd be able to choose the drop downs right here. He's not letting us choose the colors because we got to actually drop in a font, but you'd be able to do a similar thing. Previously, that was the way that I would change fonts. You couldn't just change them inside of Affinity, but now you have these drop downs where you can. Maybe this seems like a tiny thing. Maybe this seems like dumb. Maybe this seems, whatever. Who cares? I could always change the color of my font, because you're probably thinking of something like this where you could just be like, yeah, I want my font to be red. But let's come up to a font like Kyoshi here. Kyoshi is by Arcane Type Foundry, and I'm just going to put a different background on here so we can see this a little bit better. This has 6 different colors on it. So you've got 6 different colors. If you wanted to, there's not like a good way to go in, and I'm going to make this really ugly. I apologize, Alana. I'm gonna go in and change these, but you would have to spend so much time going in and changing all these colors like this, and you would only be able to do it for like certain ones. You couldn't just type and like, oh no, I made a typo, let me fix it. Like this is what color fonts can do, and this new update allows you to put these colors on here, and hopefully you make less ugly colors than I did, but there's the default right there. And this one here actually does the same thing. So you can change your color palette like we just looked at right there. I can go back to my ugly color palette. I deleted it I undid it on accident. That's okay. But the styles here have different styles for Kyoshi. So you can do your styles like this and then edit the color palette in this custom color palette menu. And that's what we're going to look at. So Rogue Wave is in the house, says, hey, enjoying the 3.2 update. They are really doing a good job fixing the bugs. Absolutely. There are a lot of bugs that were mentioned in the update. I'm going to go ahead and put this one back on here. There were a lot of bugs that got fixed. For me, one of the big ones was the typography menu. None of these radio buttons worked before. They worked, but you couldn't see them. Yeah, they're definitely fixing bugs, and the most annoying ones that I've seen have been fixed. I've been very impressed with this in general. But this font that I put on the also Rogue Wave, good to see you. This font that I'm using in the thumbnail is Nabla, and this is one that I've seen people mention in other reviews as an example of a color font. It's really cool. Let me check my notes real quick, and we'll see who this one's. Whoops. Let me check my notes real quick, and we'll see who this one's by. I am going to go through all these. This is by Typearture, and this one's a Google font. This one's free. You can download it. The cool thing about this one, I'll get to in a second, is that there are some variable features. Unfortunately, they don't work on here, but once again, you've got all these different color palettes that you can easily go through. So what I did for the thumbnail was I used this gray one, and then what I did was I used this yellow or this purple one, or this red and purple one here, and then I just masked it out. And I increased the size of it so that it looks like it's a little magnifying glass and stuff like that. But this is what I was able to do this so fast with a color font. I didn't have to go in and like add all these crazy gradients to it. And previously what you would do, let's say they don't have the color palette that I exactly want on here, and I don't know. I don't like the purple. I don't like any of these ones that they have. I can go in and choose one of these and then just start changing up the colors on it. And you can see it's blending that gradient right there. Like I know to like somebody that doesn't care about typography at all, I probably sound like a crazy person right now. But the ability to do this, it just opens up so many doors. And you can understand how easy this thumbnail was to make. I mean, it wasn't like 100% easy, but like it was so much easier to make because I could just throw color fonts on there. And if I want to change the colors of them, I use the default ones. But if I want to throw color fonts on there or custom colors and make it, you know, ugly like this, like a Christmas one, I can do that. So let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and leave that one nice and ugly, but we'll change it back to the default for now. So hopefully, even if you don't stick around for the rest of this video, you get an idea of what color fonts are, what they can do. They're not new, and as we saw a couple of minutes ago, they're not even new to Affinity. But what is new is certain ones are supported now. So Color V, it's a color format. Color V0 version 0 was worked before. SVG worked before, but now Color V1 kind of works, and that's what we're getting with Spice and Nabla up here. These ones you can see that they didn't work before, and now they work. Very nice, as we just saw. That's the one from the thumbnail. And Bungee here as well. I think we already looked at these colors as well, but built-in color palettes. I've never even seen these colors because you know, I've seen this font before. Everybody's probably seen Bungee, but I've always seen it in red or black or the outline and stuff like that. I didn't even know that these color palettes existed because they're in this. It's I don't want to get into too many technical terms because I'm not like 100% confident in my knowledge. But there's a CPAL, which stands for color palette. It's built into the font, and it's just in the font. And these colors are in there, but previously we just had no way to access them on a desktop application. Their browser support for color fonts is much better than desktop, but you know, we're looking at Affinity right now, so that's what we're worried about. Okay, so hopefully I did a good job explaining what this is. I'm going to start digging into these and showing you what works and what doesn't. All of these typefaces are linked in the description. I'm going to add chapters afterwards, so feel free to take off if you don't, you know, if you want to just go play around with it, you want to see, you know, now you know what it does. I'm going to look at some of these fonts and show you the ones that work, some of the ones that don't work, and we'll have some fun. Hopefully we'll have some fun. It does look like my web pages are loading very slow, and I'm not sure what the problem is. Let me make sure that Nord's not running in the background. I always turn off my VPN, but look at that. It's sneaky, sneaky, sneaky in my background. So I'm going to pull up the font websites just so you guys can see them real quick so you can see what the fonts should look like. This one's from Kilotype. This is 40 degrees. And as you might guess, it's slanted 40 degrees. This one does, those are just sizes. So this one has all of the different color palettes built into styles, and I do have notes. Let me see how I want to do this. Go ahead and close that. I do have notes. I apologize, it's going to take me 1 second. I do have notes that tell me what file formats are. So this one is color version 0. So this is the oldest one. I think this one came out in like 2016 or something like that. The font itself came out in 2022, but this is what it should look like. And lucky for us, this is what it does look like. So you pick this one from the menu up here. Can we edit this in the picker over here? Yes, we can. Let's just throw green on there. There you go. Let's throw, I don't know, the dark color on there. There you go. Almost Jamaican. So 40 degrees works. It is a color 0. It's static. And the thing that it doesn't do, so it's got styles. You got your styles up here. Once you have it set to a custom, you can no longer mess with these styles. That's not going to work. You're going to have to turn off custom, put it back on default, and then you can change the styles. So this is one of the quirks, one of the things that You'll see color fonts are very much still in development. And we're not settled on standards. We're not settled on we're in between color version 1 and version 2 in terms of file formats and features and things like that. So at Amigo or at Amiga, there are 2 different versions of this. I think this is Amiga. So this one is the same. This one has drop downs where you can go through the different styles. This one is also color 0. But there's actually an SVG version of this, which I don't think that I have active. Let me turn it on so I can show you an example of what an SVG color font looks like. Baba Ink's actually, is it Baba Ink? Oh, it's color and SVG. Let me just pull this up real quick. And you can see I've got font base here, Amiga. Let's just turn on one of these because these ones here, so this is AI. We'll see what that color that is. Let me mess with this for 1 second. I've got these lining on baseline, so that's why you see them disappearing. Amiga and AI. Okay, so this one here, you can't change the colors on. Oh wait, can you? No. I messed it up. Okay, we're gonna look at Blaka link here in a second, and it'll show you an SVG one. Let me just skip to this real quick so I can show you what this does, because there are actually multiple ways that you can recolor these, even if it doesn't necessarily work. So we've got Blaka ink here. Blaka ink is from Kief Type Foundry. This one's a color font as well, but it is SVG. And when it's SVG, it overrides this palette. So sometimes you'll see fonts that has this palette over here. I apologize if this is really small. I don't know how to make my interface bigger, but you'll see this drop down over here and you can see the colors that they're using. But can we change them? No. It lets us choose colors. I can change this to my red, green, and magenta and try to make it look crazy. It doesn't change. What you can do is you can choose this color FX next to it and choose the font color right here. So you choose the font color just like you would for any other font. And then you can choose the blend color. You can choose the color effects, and you can do like blend color, blend hue, or blend alpha. Blend alpha is just gonna make it basically one color. You could probably do, if you did a fill on here with a gradient, you could kind of mess around with the blend alpha on that. But for the most part, this color effects thing it's very similar to just dropping a color layer on top of this. So let me go ahead and set this back to the normal one. Turn off the blend color. So if I was just to take a square and throw on here, we'll just keep the color that's there so we don't waste too much time. Rogue Wave, I see you. So let me see. We're looking at Blaka right now. So we've got Blaka right here. If I was just to set this layer to color, where's color at? Color. You could see how it changes the color right there. And then all you'd have to do is just put it inside, and then it changes that color right there. And then I think this is actually way better than using the color effects over there, because then what you can do is you can go and change the color of this much more easy. And not only that, you can change the percentage that you want it to change, to overlay it. So like I could choose 90%, I can choose 50%, I can choose 100%. I wouldn't really mess around with this color effects unless you're not comfortable with like using layers. Or if it's just like super easy and you just want to be able to pick the color right here and do the thing here, but you lose out on all of the different blending things, because what do you even call these? The different blend modes. Because look what I can do right now. I can pick my green color, and then I can just scroll through all of these and choose whatever crazy blend mode that I want. So I would not use the color effects, but I just want to let you know they are there for when you get a color font like this, where the SVG overwrites the color. And when I'm saying color, I'm saying it like this, COLR. So there's color version 0, which is the original, and there's color version 1. Color version 0 is fully supported. Color version 1 is somewhat supported. I'm going to show you some really cool color version 1 fonts that work, but there are other color version 1s that do not work. So Let's go ahead and we'll keep in order. Gonna keep in order. I'm gonna check chat real quick. Rogue Wave says, actually took Bungee and used it in some client work. Love how the type module is set up in Affinity. Yeah, Bungee is great. Bungee is really nice for stacking as well. I'm sure you know this, but everybody, Bungee was made to be stacked, so you could do it like vertically instead, and all the letters will stack on top of each other. So if we just do this super fast, if we do like this, oh gosh, you know what we should do? We should go to the website because I've got them all linked. So why are we wasting color or wasting time here? Let's look at Bungee. There it is right there in all of its glory. So this is from DJR, David Jonathan Ross, and it's made for stacking. It was inspired by these signs right here. So that looks very nice right there. And all of these do work. We are going to pull these up in just a second. Crazy Tech says, this seems like an interesting Photoshop alternative as someone who wants to get into photo editing but haven't touched Photoshop ever. Yeah, if you haven't touched Photoshop ever, you're going to have no trouble switching over because you won't have any of that muscle memory or anything. Affinity is, I'm not going to get too much into the Photoshop competitive part of it today. I'm going to be talking about typography, but go check out James Ritson. Let me type this in chat real quick for you. James Ritson, he is a developer on the Affinity team, and he posts really great YouTube videos. So that's who I would check out if you want to see some Photoshop, photo editing type stuff on related to Affinity. Yeah, okay, let's push on here. So we've got 3 different ones from DJR here. We've got DJR Outline, Bungee Color, and Bungee Spice. Let's start out with the simplest one here. This is DJR Outline. And this is actually, there are 2 different styles for this one. So there's an SVG one, which would be very normal. And then there is the color version 0. So I apologize that I'm going to keep repeating color, but it just is what it is. So this one here does work. Color version 0 works. It doesn't have the different palettes built in here, but it does have the styles up here. So you can pick your styles like this. And if you were just doing the SVG, this is what you'd get. You wouldn't be able to change the colors. You just choose red, gold, or silver, or you could do black that's completely filled in. But with this new Affinity update, we can change out the red for green. Boom, just like that. And there's actually a little bit of like a shadow inside of it. If we go in here, you'll see this gray right here. It's actually a layer that's on top. So if I were to pick the red here, you'll see that red overlaying that. You can go, and I'm having a much better example to show this here in a second. You can change this opacity. Ooh, look at that. And then you can get that shadow back in there, but you could hint it with another color. Hint it, tint it. So you could do something like that. The opacity just takes this whole thing to a whole other level. And I'm going to get into some more of how that could work here in a little bit. But just to give you a preview there, this is another color version 0 font that does work. And you can change all the colors, not just the green there. Let's get into Bungee Color here because this one's a little bit newer. So Bungee, as we just saw, Bungee is all of these versions of Bungee Color. They're all available on Google Fonts, and they are all free to download. So they should be linked in the description. Go check those out. Let me check the color palettes on this one. So this one here has built-in color palettes. As we scroll down, these will look very familiar. They're going to look like the ones from the website. These are not labeled, but they do say font palette 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you get all the way down to custom. The cool thing about this is that, let's say you're on, I don't know, let's choose this white one right here. And you can't really see anything, but you're like, I just like the white one right here. I just want to change that inline the inside of it. You don't have to go to like custom and then pick, maybe the white one's a bad choice. Let's do the blue here. I like the blue, but I want to change the inside color. You don't have to go to custom and like try to find that specific hue and change it and everything. You can just change it right here and it'll switch to the custom one. And you've got the red inside of it. Boom. Very nice. So that's beat by DJR, as we looked at here before. Now we're starting to get into some weird ones, or some more extreme ones here. Rogue Wave says, James is a perfect resource for beginners or higher. Absolutely. Yeah, he goes way beyond beginners for sure. He's far beyond anything that I would be capable of giving you guys. So this is Bungee Spice. And at first glance, it's kind of like, how the heck is this even happening? Color version 1, again, this is color V1, like this, added a lot of capabilities that Affinity and most software cannot do anything with. But that's how it works. You know, first you develop the technology, then everybody, you know, figures out how to implement it and stuff like that. This has some built-in palettes. So you've got the pumpkin spice color there, like we looked at before. You've got this blue one, and then you've got this green one here. Once again, if I wanted to swap out, let's change this one to the Affinity green, boom, and let's change this one to like the Objectives green. Not quite dark enough. Let's change it to my dark green. And there you go. You know, that's really cool. It just, what you can do with this, like with these gradients and stuff, you know, previously, if you were going to do this before color fonts existed, because I'm one of those people that was immediately like, why would I want to do that? Like I could, like, if you see something like this one and you're like, why would I want to do that? I could just add a stroke and then change the color of the font. Like, that's fine. I'll do that myself. Or even when you get to something like Bungee and you're like, well, I could just do an inline on this. Like I could just draw those lines. Well, like, who cares? First of all, like, what if I want to type an F right here? I mean, F might be a bad example. What if I want to type a Z right here? Like, now I have to draw the line for the Z. I can't just type it. So first of all, like, that's one thing that gets fixed. Previously, you'd have to use layers and multiple fonts stacked on top of each other. Now we're getting like doing these gradients and stuff. The amount of work that it would take to do this is just not worth the time for a font. You know, unless you're doing like one-off lettering. But say you want to do this for every headline in a magazine, like, you know, and you want to be able to change it for each one of them. You can do it in 2 seconds now. And then with the color palettes and stuff, you can change that too. I just want to keep the font names on there. Let's get my ugly. Now let's go ahead and leave my ugly color on there. Okay, so we've seen a bunch of them that work. Really cool. This is a new release that released recently. This is Catich Color. This one's from DualType. Let me go ahead and pull this one up for you. This is a free typeface that you can get. It's built to teach you how to do this type of calligraphy. That was popularized by Edward Catich, I believe. I'm not sure on the first name on that one. Yeah, Edward Catich. Got it. This just released like 2 months ago. I talked about it here on the channel when we went through new releases, so some of you probably recognize this. I saw this and I was like, cool, like we can finally edit this. You could always edit this in that DJR font color customizer, whatever it was, that's linked in the description. You could always do it there, but you don't want to have to like export a font, download it, do it again. Unfortunately, with Catich here, you're still going to have to do that. So you can see I'm able to pick the colors. You can see all the colors over here on the right, but none of them are changing. What's going on here? Well, after a bunch of testing, I basically figured out that if the font has color, like color 0, like we've been talking about, color version 0, and it also has SVG, the SVG will overwrite the color fonts that are on there. So you can still go through your styles up here and you can pick gray and you can pick black. But unfortunately, Affinity doesn't have the ability to edit a font like this. So that's the thing that's going to break a lot of these is SVG that overwrites it. How is Bungee Spice here getting away with this? This is a color version 1. And it's using SVG, but it's also using CSS. So it's using a CSS variable to pick 2 colors. Whereas Catich Color here is using SVG and it's saying like, this is the blue color, this is the pink color, this is the green color. It's not saying like, here's color 1, let them pick it. Here's color 2, let them pick it. That's what Bungee's doing and that's how Bungee works. Whereas Catich it's hard coding with the hex codes, you know, with just picking like the 6-digit colors, or actually these are actually 7 because you can see some opacity there. It's picking the color for you. It's setting it hard and doesn't let you choose it. It's not set up with variables that you can like choose the color. We're going to see something similar here with Hamster. Let me check chat real quick. Crazy Tech says, I bought Krita today from Steam and played around with it a bit. By a bit, I mean hours. It's actually got me hooked. I might try out Affinity as well. Krita is great for a lot of things. I think a lot of people use it for like like digital painting and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Krita is a very strong alternative to Photoshop. I haven't played around with it a lot either, but also I don't think you should have had to buy it because I think Krita is made by KDE and it should be free. Maybe I'm wrong on that though. So we've got Hamster here. Hamster is from Fontwerk. Let me just go ahead and pull up the web page for you. They've got a really cool animation going on here, or video, I should say. So this, when I first saw these, I thought this was fake because it seems so surreal. I talked to Ivo. Ivo is the founder, the owner of Fontwerk, and this is a real video. Like, this is a real video. They spent a bunch of time and money, and they really made these blocks of wood. I saw these blocks of wood sitting on his desk. That's a real video that they made to promote this font. Here's what it should look like, and as we already saw, this is what it does look like. But you can see they've got a bunch of different colors here. Previously, what you'd have to do in Affinity is choose each one of these colors as styles. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This one here is static. So I've written static. I just mean, when I say static, I mean it's not variable. You choose your fonts right here, thin, all the way up to extra black. Whereas with variable, let's go ahead and do this barbecue one here. With variable, you've got the slider. Zoop, zoop. Okay. So with Hamster static here, let me double check. Let's find out. So you can see the color palettes are over here, but none of them are changing anything. So you've got all the different color palettes. You can see this one should be purple and purple. It's not doing anything. It's the same as Catich, where they've hard coded these colors. So if you want to use Hamster, you want to be able to change the colors. You don't want the static version of it. You don't want the static version. You want the variable version, because the variable version, for whatever reason, is able to do this. I don't know, I think obviously it's just the same thing where they've hard coded in the colors, like this is the regular color, this is the barbecue color. But if you use the variable one, as we can see, I've got my crazy color on here. Let's get Hamster nice and big. As you can see on this one, it's got all of the color palettes for the entire font. So that web page we just looked at that had all these different colors, this is all built into a single font. Let's choose the purple that should have shown up before, and you still got your variable. So you're losing nothing by getting the variable. I just want to for anybody that might be wondering, like, what am I losing if I get the variable? You're losing nothing. You can still do the drop down here. You can still pick thin, light, go up to like pick each one of those instances, but you're gaining this. Not only that, you're gaining all of these color palettes built into a single font file. This is crazy. This is like the future of fonts. I mean, it's not even the future, it's here now, but like we haven't been able to actually use this. You can use it in like browsers and stuff like that, but you haven't been able to use this in Affinity, in Adobe, anywhere. You haven't been able to do this in a desktop app. The next thing that I'll be looking for with this is what's going to be really cool. You might be able to do this in Cavalry. I don't think you can yet, but you might be able to. What would be really cool is to be able to set your keyframes. So let's say I set a keyframe for my objectives green and the black here. We'll just go back to this. Let's say I set a keyframe for this at like frame 0, and then I want to take it, let's go to color here. And then I want to take it and like have it fade out or fade in. You could keyframe only certain parts of the font. And you're getting a little insight into like how this font works right now because you're seeing the overlap. So look at the S. Let me get a drink of water. You're seeing the S right here, and it's not all disappearing. So the way color fonts work is they're layers. Remember when we used to have to layer fonts? Maybe people don't, but I remember in school like having to layer fonts. So you'd get a font that had 3 or 4 different layers to it and you'd stack one on top of the other. That's essentially what color fonts are doing. They're just doing it for you inside the file. You don't have to have 4 different fonts and like perfectly align them. And then if you want to, like I've been saying over and over, like if you accidentally spell it wrong and you have to go fix something, you don't have to fix 2 different font files. You just go, or 2 different text boxes. You just fix one and it does it for you. What would be cool though is like that animation keyframing, because you could imagine like choosing color 1 and then just rotating it and like doing, you know, having this change on its own, obviously to something less obnoxious than like RGB rainbow puke. But I don't know. That's the next thing I'll be looking forward to. That's not what we have today. But let me check chat real quick. Crazy Text says, I know I got scammed by paying for it off Steam, but there were some extra perks included. Yeah, auto updates, great. Like that's one really good reason to use or to even purchase software on Steam, because you get the auto updates and stuff like that. The other thing is it supports developers, I'm sure. Yeah, Crazy Tech says, yeah, so it's staying. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. So Crazy Tech is saying that when you purchase software on Steam, it'll save your files to the cloud and stuff like that. So that's definitely a benefit as well. We're looking at Honk right here. Let me pull up how this should look for you, because it's pretty cool. Again, free font. It's linked in the description. This is by Type, and it is a Google font. So this is still open font license. You can download this, do whatever you want with it, fork it, change it. You just have to give attribution in the file name and stuff like that. In the metadata, I apologize. So this is what it should look like. Pretty cool. What you should be able to do is morph this. Let me see. Let's make this font really big down here. Can you edit this like this? What's the biggest we can get? 280. Okay. We've got whereas. What this font should be able to do, and this is one of the reasons why it's broken, because these variable fonts sometimes, I think this is why. Oh no, actually this one's broken because it's using a very specific way to color it. So we're on Honk right now. This is not using SVGs like CSS to color it like DJR did. It's using like paint graph or something like that. But this font's really cool. Like it's got all these different morphing things that it could go through. Like you could really imagine this being animated motion fonts and things like that. And what you should be able to do is customize those colors as you go. You can even change the shadow length. Now we're breaking in a little bit. You can change the shadow length. So these variable axes are really cool. Interesting typeface. That one's from Type. But unfortunately, when we bring it up in Affinity, it doesn't do anything. The only thing you can do is just change the color like you normally could. So, you know, you could change the color like a normal font. But the other thing you could do, let's see if the morph and stuff works. Okay. Morph works. So the variable features do work. That's really cool. Let's play around. The shadow doesn't appear to be working. So morph works, shadow doesn't. This is another topic for another day, is variable fonts. But you could see the color doesn't work. And once again, you could use like the color effects and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just don't know why you would. Okay, that doesn't work. It seems like it should, but there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of technical stuff going on in the background of these fonts that we just haven't really settled on a standard yet. And when there's not a full standard, you know, color 1 is the emerging standard. It's kind of been the chosen, but you know, we started with like four different versions, competing versions from Microsoft, Apple, Adobe, Mozilla. Who was the other one? Google. Like everybody had different versions of it, and we've just now kind of landed on color 1 a few years ago as like the font, the style it's gonna, or the format that's gonna take the mantle here. But right now, the ones that 100% work are color 0 fonts that don't have hard-coded hex values. You might look at this one after seeing Honk and be like, how the heck is this gonna work? This is Juma. This is by Naipe Foundry. We've talked about them on here before. Naipe Foundry is a Brazilian type foundry, but right there, you can see it. They've got the black and white version right there that leaves it all open, or you've got the color version. This one I also have linked in the description, is available on Adobe fonts. So this is the first one that I'm aware of that's available on Adobe fonts. A lot of these, you have to purchase them or download them from Google fonts. Most of these are Google fonts because I don't just go out buying random random color fonts, or I've downloaded trials. Okay, so enough of that. Let's see if we can change the colors. Let's go with the blue color here since it's the biggest, and let's put something real obnoxious there. There we go. You can change the colors. And you can change any of them, obviously. So we've got 9 different colors here. You can change any of them. You can change all of them. The other thing you can do is, this looks a little bit like stained glass to me. Let's say I want to like, let's go ahead and highlight all of it. Let's say I just want to change the yellow here. I want to keep that yellow, but I want it to be like see-through. You can make it see-through, and just to kind of show what I'm thinking here. Why is that not see-through? Oh, I bet there's black in the background. I apologize. That's not actually going to work. So if I make that yellow completely see-through, once again, these are basically layers. If I make this yellow completely see-through, you'll see it's black in the back. So, you know, I'm not sure if this will be something that ends up getting worked out when font designers, you know, right now they're just doing layers, which makes this way easier to do. But maybe later on, these will be individual sections that, you know, each layer will not overlap like this. Like each one of these orange pieces would be separate from the dark orange. We know that it's possible, at least on this one, because they've got the monochrome version right here. So if you really want to do what I was just talking about, you'd have to go in and color each one of these, but that leaves you with the same problem. You can't just type. This is supposed to say YouTube. You can't just type out something new. But you can edit these colors. You can go in, and the great thing about being able to edit these is like you set a palette on here, and then you can just use it, you know, like your brand font or whatever. You can just use those colors. Obviously, I'm choosing horrible, ugly ones just to kind of prove my point here. But it's very easy to go back to the default. So let me look at my notes here for Juma. Juma's colored version 0, no SVG, hard-coded, nothing. None of these are set with like SVG hex colors or anything. These are set up as CPAL, so it's letting you pick the color palette with these right here. So it's saying color 1 through 9, and then it lets you pick those. Basically, like imagine like a spreadsheet, and it's got a spreadsheet, and then you can just change the values. It'll reference back to like that row or that column, and you can change what that number is in that column with a hex code. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I know this is kind of repetitive, but I want to show you some that work and some that don't, so you can get like a clear picture that it's not perfect, but it's really cool when it does work. Obviously, you can probably guess right now, Kalnia Glaze, this one does not work. Let me pull it up so you can see what it should look like. My link is broken for that one, but I can get it real quick. 2 seconds, I apologize. Kalnia Blaze, this one is a free Google font as well. Oh, Glaze, not Blaze. But look, this one's got a lot going on. This one is, you can see there are different colors for the outline. There are gradients on the outside, gradients on the inside. This feels very similar to Bungee Script or Bungee Spice. I apologize, right here, where you've got the gradients and the gradients. This one should work if it was done the same, but unfortunately it's not. So this one here is done via color 1, but it's using paint color layers. So rather than using CSS to color this, it's using the built-in color paint layers. And unfortunately, that's not supported. So I would expect someday, you know, I expect like this will continue to be, Affinity will continue to update it and get upgrades and things like that. Right now, no one can do no other software can do any of this, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Adobe can't do this. You can't go in and change these colors. I wouldn't be surprised if Adobe supported more of these. Maybe this one would render correctly in Adobe. I'm not sure. But you can't edit the colors for any of them in Adobe. So that one doesn't work. KTF Roman here. This one's from Kyiv Foundry. Let me go ahead and pull up this. It looks exactly how it should. You know, the red, green, blue. Okay, there it is right there. This one does have other styles that are not color. So it's got a shadow version, a black and white version, outlines, Roman. And once again, before, the only way to edit this would be to go to something like DJR's Color Font Customizer tool. Let's see if we can customize this. Let's change the blue and we'll swap it out for the Affinity green. Boom. Nope. Sorry. I shouldn't lead you on like that. Okay, so why does this not work? This is the color font, color 0, and SVG, but it's got the SVGs that are overriding that palette. So that's the problem with all these ones that are not working. The bigger problem is there's no way to know which fonts are going to do this and which fonts won't. Because right now you might pull this up, you buy the font, you download it, you're like, awesome, I'm going to change these colors out. And then you try because it looks like you should be able to. This is what's happening. Affinity is recognizing that it's got a color palette in there that you can choose and you can edit. But they got these hard-coded to show the red, green, and the blue and that lavender color instead. So it's hard-coded to show those colors on some of the fonts. And that's just one of them. We already looked at Kyoshi here, but Kyoshi from Arcane Type Foundry. This one is not hard-coded, and this one works perfectly. Let me go ahead and click this for you to show you the website. Very cute, very nice. This one's from Arcane Type Foundry. And it even does have some discretionary ligatures that add little icons and stuff for you. That's pretty cool. But like we saw before, you can change this one. I went ahead and turned this into some ugly colors before. Let's go ahead and just swap a couple of them out so you can see. Actually, let's go back. What I was thinking with this one before, when I was talking about what I was thinking about with this one before with the transparency is like, I think this would be a really good candidate to change the transparency on. So this is going to take a second, but let me go ahead and swap some of these out. Let's go to custom. I'm going to pick the same color for all these, so bear with me while I pick 6 different versions of my exact green. There we go. But now we've got this right here. Why even bother? Well, because we could come in here and change the opacity of all these different things. I think that you could do some cool stuff with this. Is this going to look cool when I'm finished? No, I don't think so. But someone that spent more time messing around with this could make this look pretty cool. And this one here actually will, we get this on top, actually will give you the opacity through it because none of these are overlapping. So you could imagine putting this on top of a picture. Obviously you wouldn't put it on top of a font like this, but you can see what's happening. You can play around with those opacities and then set it on top of, whatever it is that you want to set it on top of. And I think that would be another really cool way to use the color fonts. Not just color fonts, but to customize the color fonts. We're getting towards the end here. I appreciate everyone that's hanging out, bearing with me. If you were just now joining and you're like, what is this nonsense? Go ahead and rewind. Go to the beginning of the video. I explained it much better in the beginning, but if you've been here for the full time, I appreciate you. We're going to hop into Nabla again. So this is Nabla. This is an isometric color font, and it's supposed to be able to do some really cool stuff here. You can see Arthur Reindeers, Fulmer, and Joost van Rossum. Joost is half of Letter, along with Eric van Blokland. But you can see what this one can do right here. We can't do this in Affinity. I apologize. Don't get your hopes up. We cannot do this. We can change the colors. We cannot do these animations and stuff. This stuff doesn't work. As you can see right here, it says cutting edge right here, cutting edge. Right here, you can see color version 1 or color version 0, color version 1, and they're giving you a few of the features that are not options in the older format, color version 0, which works more often in Affinity than color version 1. Things have to be set up very specifically. So look at the shadow they're casting in the background right there. They're able to do this with the font. They're able to do all kinds of other gradients and things like that. The solid corner you can see up here on this one versus that one there's got the gradient on it. You're just able to do so much more stuff with color version 1 than we're able to do with color version 0. And you can see all of that stuff works here. So you can see they've got the lighter corner on there. The color fonts, they work. They render perfectly. This looks exactly as it should. Let's go ahead and go back. It looks exactly like this R right here. Let's go ahead and type an R. Let's type an R real quick. Whoa, look at that lowercase r. And let's split screen this just to test out and see if this looks how it should. Let's see the R right there. Let's see the R right here. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty perfect to me. Do we have the shadow? No, because that's one of the things that doesn't work. But this renders very nice. So that part of it does work. The color version 1 typefaces, they do work, but some of the features have to be set up in very specific ways that I don't fully understand yet. But this does have built-in color palettes, as we saw in the very beginning. That's the one from the thumbnail. Palette 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we can customize it. And let's go ahead and make sure that we can. Oh, wait. I don't know that we can customize this one. Let me just switch a bunch of these to green. I apologize. Oh, yeah, some of them working. There we go. So I think what was happening is some of these are like tiny little are parts of glyphs that would show up in some characters but not in others. So unfortunately, there's no way to really know what these colors are going to relate to. So I can see like the white on there. I know that highlight. If I want to change that to my green color, I can do that because I know the highlight. It's going to be a little bit of a hunting game. You're going to have to like hunt down some of these colors and try to get them right. Most fonts aren't going to have 10 different colors on here, but 10, as we're going to see here in a minute, is not that bad. I have a font that I'm going to show you at the end here in a second that has almost 65,000 colors. Nabla, very cool. You can change the colors. You can do the custom built, or you can do the built-in ones like this. But let's say I wanted to change that front yellow there to red. I'm going to have to pick through these for a second. Oh, look at that. That is really ugly, but really fun. I like that. We're going to leave it on that one. That looks like a fruit roll-up or something. Yeah, so I didn't even realize that the front on that had a gradient. But if you pick two of the same color on there, obviously the gradient would just go away. So if I didn't want the gradient, boom, now I got the solid front. That's why there's extra colors there. That's pretty cool. Very nice. My hope would be that one day that this would be more descriptive and not just say color 1 through 10. But for now, we can completely get by with this. Let's look at Olaf, and I'm going to show you something else pretty cool with this one. So Olaf does have all of these built in, so you can go from noon, dusk, night, or just black. But you'll notice that all of these have shadows on them. These are from DualTypes. I can show you this one real quick. I've shown this on the channel before, but let's go ahead and show it. This is Olaf from DualTypes. What they do is they go around and they recreate brutal typefaces that were used on buildings and things like that, and they try to, preserve this memory. Someday this will go away. Hopefully, it can live on in these electronic fonts. But it's a really cool project. I've talked about DualTypes a lot on the channel. But the one thing with this one is that you either get the shadow or you don't. So you can do these different colors. You can do regular with no shadow, or you can do any of these with the shadow. Let's go ahead and choose, let's stick with dusk. It stands out the most. With this one, you can go through the color palette, and I can see black right here, and I can go to my color here, and I can just turn this down. And then I've got a nice softer shadow on there. The other thing you can do, you want to make your own shadow, completely get rid of it. Boom, just throw a shadow on there. Do where's our shadow at? Outer shadow. And there you go. You got your own shadow that you can now move anywhere you want. You don't even have to, you could just turn off the shadow completely, move it. Obviously that shadow is offset quite far, but that's one of the really cool things about being able to customize your color fonts is that how would you turn that shadow off before? You just wouldn't. There's no way to turn that off, right? You'd have to really do a lot of work to make that happen. But now you no longer need to. Let me make sure that's back to the one that it should be at. No, it's not. Let me keep undoing a little bit so I can get this back to normal. I apologize. There's an incredibly loud, obnoxious motorcycle driving by my window right now. Okay, so that was Olaf. One really cool thing that you could do is turn off that shadow, or tamp it down a little bit. I think that's a great use of it. OT Sector. When I reviewed this, so this one's from ArillaType. Let me go ahead and show you this. When I reviewed this, I thought that it looked cool in the specimens, but I also thought like man, it's one of those fonts that like looks cool on Instagram, and then like you try to use it and it just never looks as cool as this. Now that we can edit the color fonts, it kind of does. Like, it gets a new life. It's not gonna have all this glow and stuff. You can see the mono grid on there. That's got a glow added to it. All this up here has glows added to it. You'd still have to do all that manually. But, sorry, getting a drink of water. Now, what we can do, the way that they've achieved this shadow, this like LCD, the old like liquid crystal display, like I think like an old calculator, old game or something like that, that had that shadow there all the time. So they've got that grid shadow on there. You can just turn this off if you want, or you can just have a full grid. If you couldn't before in Affinity, we'd have to do this full grid like this, and then we'd have to put this on top. We'd have to layer the two fonts, change the colors. Now, no longer. Now, we can just use the palette over here. We got our two colors there, but we can do custom here. Let's go ahead and change this to red. And then let's, I don't know, make the background like a nice blue color or something. We're gonna have to do this. And you can make the background there. And then if you want, you can, you know, have this fade in and out, do whatever you want, set the certain opacity that you want, rather than the opacity that they manually set on there. Maybe you don't even want to change the colors. You just want to keep it like this, but you're like, oh, I really want people to see that grid on there. Just go in, go to color 2, and make that show up. Again, you can see how this would be really cool with motion fonts, with animation, things like that, where you could make these things fade in and out. You could have sector. Let's say we have sector on here. I could imagine this for like film credits or something, right? So you got sector on here, and then it changes to dark, and it fades back in, and it says something else. It fades out, fades in. You could do that over and over, and just have the credits keep changing, or whatever it is. But what you can do right now is, you know, set the opacity on that to be whatever you want, or change the color to whatever you want it to be. And I think that's really nice. It adds a lot more to this typeface that the first time around I didn't see being there. And this is going to go forward forever now. Anytime there's a color font that gets released now, I will 100% be going in to checking and seeing like what we can do with it, if it works with Affinity, if it doesn't work with Affinity. And OT sector is one that does. As you might guess here, this 64 does not. This is called Sixtyfour Convergence, but I couldn't actually fit it on there. This one does some cool stuff. Some really cool stuff, actually. It's got like bleed. So let's see if we can get this. You get the bleed here, which is kind of like the width or like the weight of it would be the bleed. We've got scan lines, so you can make the scan lines go bigger and smaller. The scan lines do work, but you've got these horizontal alignment things. You can like make the lines get, it's probably not showing up super great. Let's make these a little bit bigger. You can make the lines, these not aligned. So like imagine like an old CRT TV. I do have a really cool blog article. I forget what website published it, but they have the making of this font. So go down and look for 64 Convergence, and you'll see like a making of article that breaks down how this works. But look at that almost 3D effect that you're getting. The day that this is able to work in Cavalry, that is going to be crazy. Being able to do this like back and forth. Let's make this huge. We'll just only look at a couple of characters at a time. Look at what we'd be able to do with like these alignment things. That's really cool. And just with like 3 layers, you know, it's like old video games where you get like the old parametric scrolling and stuff like that with just 3 layers. Unfortunately, does it work in Affinity? No. It has all the color palettes here, so it looks like it should work. But once again, it doesn't. So Bitcount. I have a Bitcount by Petr van Blokland. This is another one that should be really cool. This one's available on Google Fonts. This is what it should be able to do. You should be able to change all these things. And this is a font that, you know, dates back to like the 70s, I think when they started working on fonts kind of like this, but this was just recently released. Obviously it's a color font. This one literally crashes Affinity. It crashes Affinity 2.6. It crashes Affinity 3.2. Don't open this in Affinity. It's not even that you shouldn't open it. Don't even install it on your computer right now because Affinity loads the fonts that you have installed, and it will crash every single time. So you try to edit the fonts, like you try to do this and you try to go up to the fonts and do like a drop down, and Affinity will crash. So don't install Bitcount, even though it looks really cool. I did link in the description. If you're a masochist, go ahead and download it. You know, crash your computer. That's cool with me. Someday this might work. You could edit this in browsers and things like that. But for now, it doesn't work in Affinity, and it will crash your computer. I've got this little emoji right here because I wanted to remind myself to open up my emoji file. I put it in a separate one because, like I said a second ago, I have a font that has 65,000 colors. I'm gonna have to open this. Let me open it on my second screen real quick. And I will pull up some emojis for you because if you don't know, emojis are color fonts. And the way that color fonts basically gained popularity was through Apple's emoji keyboard that was on iOS. I don't remember which iOS, but iOS in 2011. Let me quit talking for 2 seconds so I can try and find this file. I apologize. I know this is kind of boring. News, Affinity review, update, testing. Okay, we got it. Let me find the emoji one. Okay, so the way that color fonts actually kind of emerged, because they had existed in the 1980s. PostScript 3 could do emojis, or could do color fonts, but emojis, of all things, are really what made color fonts emerge. And that's when we got into like the color font wars and stuff like that, and 4 different file formats, a conversation for a different day. But if you think back to like instant messengers and things like that, those kind of smileys, as we used to call them before we called them emojis, those kind of smileys were, they were just GIFs, you know, they were just images. And these are fonts, and I'm sure we're all familiar with emojis. I thought my dream was like, oh shit, we're going to be able to change the color of all these emojis. So let me just highlight this. Let me just click on this right here. We got a typical color palette over here. Boom, do a drop down. It's going to take a second. Bear with me. We've got 65,000 colors loading up over here. I know it's going to be really small on your screen, but look over on the right. And as I scroll down, I was like, wait, where's the yellow? I just want to change this guy's face right now. And it's like thousands, tens of thousands of different colors. And I pull the little handle and I scroll all the way to bottom. Color 64,831. Just for reference, a color font can only have, I think, 65,536 colors total or something like that. Like, they push this thing to the absolute limit. Why is it like this? A couple of reasons. One, there are some gradients and things like that probably going on in some of these. Most of these look pretty solid, but you could, in theory, do gradients. Okay, here's why it needs to be all different ones. You've got this girl's yellow hair. You got this fireman's yellow shirt. You've got this pizza's yellow cheese. You've got this smiley's yellow face. You've got this lollipop's yellow section. These are all different yellows. And you have to imagine a font like Suggo, which is Windows emojis, Suggo UI emoji. You have tens of thousands, and this is one of them. You know, they brought like the skin colors and then they got rid of them, but Windows still has them. So like some places got rid of them, some places didn't, because it just, you know, if you add 8 skin colors to a font that has 10,000 glyphs in it, and suddenly you have 80,000 glyphs in your font, it just gets way out of hand. So a lot of them got rid of the different colors and stuff like that. But I've got all the greens down here. Look at all these different greens. If I went in and I was like, oh, I want to change the color of this pear green, but all of 5 of these emojis use that same color of green, it's going to change the color in all 5 emojis. So unfortunately, it's just, I mean, it's in theory, it's not impossible to go and dig through this menu, but good effing luck finding your specific green in this 65,000 different colors. Good luck. So what you'd have to do is you just go do it like we used to do it. Press Control Enter on your keyboard. It'll turn these into curves. Then, you know, it's easy peasy. You just go in, you pick your color, boom, green face smiley. So I'm sure you already know that, but just in case you're like, oh, I really do want to edit an emoji, convert it to curves. In Affinity, that's just pushing Control Enter or Command Enter on a Mac, and then you just go edit it like any other vector thing. Nodo color emoji. So Nodo is Google's, and you can see this is 100% using color version 1 because you can see it has gradients. You can see it has opacity. Let's see if we've got some. Yeah, we've got some gradients in this guy's shirt right here. So this one's doing a lot more than this because you can see how flat this is. I think these look great. I kind of prefer Windows over the Nodo ones, but it's hard to deny the Nodo ones are doing a lot more. One thing, look at this squirrel. That's really cute. Okay. But Nodo color emoji has a much smaller palette. Again, way too much to like go through and try to edit, but this one only, and I say only ironically, only has 5,921 colors to choose from. I did not swap out this guy in the turban with the, or hopefully that's called a turban, I'm not sure. The guy with the the hat, for the lime on this one, I copied and pasted these emojis to this one and got different characters. So the thumbs up turned into a cartwheel, the lime turned into this guy, the fireman turned into this person kneeling. So there's clearly some copy and paste stuff that just doesn't work. Once again, copy and pasted it to GT Madu. Let me pull up this one for you because I do have this one linked. Nodo color emojis are available on Google Fonts. That is linked in the description. GT, I'm going to say Madu. I'm not sure if it's Maru or Madu, but I'm going to say Madu. It is not an emoji font. It's a font that has an emoji. It's a typeface that has emojis included. So the emojis are not super deep. You can see a bunch of them missing here. We've got a pig that's only partially drawn, I think. I'm not sure what's going on there. I like this little pizza with the smiley on it. It's pretty cute though. But this one has a much more manageable set of colors. I got very excited for this one. Click customize, scroll down, 23 colors. You might notice these are all magenta. It's doing nothing. So you can get the default colors right here and I can see them. I can see, oh, the yellow on this guy's face actually does match the yellow on the pizza, actually does match the yellow on the pear. Obviously, if they wanted to change the color of the pear to be green, like these other pears up here, they've got a problem because it's going to change. I mean, you could swap that out for green. But if you just wanted to go in, change that color with like you would normally change a color, it changes the pizza to green, changes the smiley to green. So you do have that problem now. But this is so much simpler and it's so close to being able to change your colors, but it's just not quite there. I think no matter what though, you'd end up running into the same problem. Even if these emojis could be edited with the character, in the character panel over here, even if you could just go and swap these out, customize them, you would run into that same problem where like, if you customize this smiley to be purple, then now all of a sudden, when you want to type a pizza emoji, your pizza's purple. So I don't know. I think probably the simplest thing is to just go in, convert it to curves like you always would have done, and do this. But the silver lining here is look at all these emojis that are supported in Affinity. There was a time when emojis were not supported. And there was a time when only color version 0, these flat ones here, would be supported. Now color version 1 with all of these beautiful gradients, all of like these different features and stuff are possible. It looks like we might have a little bit of rendering issue because you can see that this film piece doesn't align on the left and right. So I think that there's some room for improvement, but it's really cool to see Affinity advancing in this type of way. In this type of way. I swear I'm not getting choked up because I'm getting emotional. It's really cool to see this stuff happening. And yeah, so just to kind of wrap things up, let me go ahead and get a drink. I'll turn my face on. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, I don't want the full face cam. I apologize. One second. Screen cap, Tiny Curtis. Where am I at? There I am. Okay. So just to recap real quick, color fonts in Affinity are not new. We can see those in Affinity version 2.6 right here. This is the old school Affinity. This is Affinity Publisher. These did already work in Affinity. So people that are making new videos that are like, you can use color fonts now. You kind of always could, but you can use more color fonts now because Color version 0 did not, or color version 1 did not work at all. Only color version 0 worked. Color version 1 now does work, but it works in very specific ways. So this is scripted with CSS variables. Bungee is scripted with CSS variables, as is Nabla up here. It's not Nablar, it's just Nabla. Just Nabla, there we go. These are both scripted with CSS variables that are taking that gradient from one color to another. Those work beautifully. Fonts that will render but don't work, let's see here, are going to be fonts that have hard-coded SVG colors. So a font like KTF Roman has colors that they pick and they say, these are the 4 colors for these 4 colors. Those are the colors that you get. There's not a variable there. There's not like a color palette table to go look up these colors and be like, color 1, let me pick color 1. It's just color 1 is red, color 2 is green. Whereas in other fonts, like Kyoshi here, let's go ahead and get Alana's beautiful regular colors on here. With this one here, you can change any of these. Color 1 is able to be chosen. Color 2 is able to be chosen all the way through color 6. So that's going to be kind of how it goes. The downside, the good thing here, we've got a lot more ability to customize color fonts. We've never had this ability to customize color fonts. We've had the ability to use them. We've had the ability to use them, but we've never had the ability to customize them. Now we have the ability to customize them. In many instances, in a few, it still doesn't work. This is literally the bleeding edge of typography right now, of font files. You know, we're in the middle of like history right now, if you want to be honest about it. So color fonts are really cool. Color fonts, variable fonts, both doing really cool stuff. This is not a variable font video. I guess we could do one of those in the future. But they're both on that bleeding edge, and some of the stuff that they want to be able to do that the fonts can do, the applications can't do yet. Nabla here, we saw this one that could like do the isometric, like zoom in and out. My face is in the way, but it's got the variable axes on here where you should be able to do the extruded depth. It doesn't work. It's got the edge highlight. It doesn't work. The colors work, but those features there, they don't work. So yeah, I think this is something I'll dig into more. I do want to learn like more about color fonts, but I don't know how many people want to sit through like super nerdy technical stuff. So for now, just know some work, some don't. The ones that do are really, really cool, and you can edit them and do really fun stuff like I did with the thumbnail here. Because those are just 2 separate color fonts. I could have customized them. I didn't even have to, but it was so fast to just copy and paste. I just actually didn't even copy and paste. Control J, the gray layer, change the color on it, and then just zoom it in. The amount of time that this would have taken before color fonts worked this well, I wouldn't have bothered. I wouldn't have bothered doing this. So, some Mr. Blitz Basic, erased what he was going to say there. So we're going to get out of here. Go have fun. Test these things out. I do have some linked in the description I linked at the very, very bottom, color fonts on Google Fonts. Let me go ahead and just put my face on there. Color Google Fonts. So if you don't know where you can get them, go to Google Fonts, just download some for free. There's a color filter. I've linked in the description. It'll go right to the color fonts only. Download them, test them out. If you don't have Affinity yet, it's free. I don't know what you're waiting for. We're on version 3.2 right now. Go download that. It's free. It's the very first thing linked in the description. Download it. If you want to see all the review notes, release notes for version 3.2, those are linked in the description as well, right below the download link. There are plenty of other tutorials. There are plenty of other videos with announcements talking about the other features that released. This is the one thing that no one was talking about: color font customization. And hopefully over the last like hour and a half, I've convinced you that this is actually kind of a big deal. Much bigger deal than the blob brush that everybody keeps talking about. This is a big deal for anybody that cares about typography. And if you're using Affinity, I think you probably do. So Mr. Blitz Basic, very cool stuff. Thanks for the walkthrough. I appreciate you for joining. You are very welcome. Everybody that hung out today, Crazy Tech, Rogue Wave, thanks for hanging out. I will be back on Friday for Typography News number 50. If you're new around the channel, this is a typography channel. I do Affinity updates. I do my Affinity review whenever there's a big Affinity update, but I'm not like an Affinity channel. I'm a typography channel. So those will release as Affinity news releases. But if you're into typography, go ahead and subscribe for that. And I will see you guys Friday, same place, same time. I was Curtis Simpson. This was Affinity Review. Bye.